Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host. Today I have Ernest Wilmore Jr., based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, founder and owner of Wilmore Boots. He's a firefighter, and these boots are ASTM safety certified for you firefighters and those in the construction field. So, Ernest, brother, welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you having me on, man. I was really looking forward to this.
All right, man. So, let's get to the nitty gritty. You're a firefighter who's happened to somehow down the line get into barefoot shoes, and then now you start his brand, Wilmore Boots. How'd that happen, man?
So I guess the story initially began in high school. I ran cross country and track. And kind of during that process, I discovered my very first pair of barefoot style shoes was the Nike Free Runs, the very first model that they came out with. And it was marketed as kind of like a shoe that made it feel like you were running barefoot. The sole wasn't super thin yet and the toe box wasn't wide, but it did have very deep cuts in the sole that made the shoe very flexible, which gave it that kind of that flexible idea for the keep the natural movement of the foot. So that was my very first barefoot shoe. Then from there, I had a pair of New Balance running shoes. They had a very thin outsole as well. Then about 9 or 10 years ago, I got into legit barefoot shoes. My very first pair was a pair of Vivos that I use for training in the gym that I still use today. I'm actually wearing a pair of Vivos right now. That's a new pair that's supposed to replace my old pair because they legit have holes in them, dude. I wish I had them. My first pair of Vivos have holes in them. That's how much I wear them. So the natural progression from becoming my gym shoes, then becoming my lifestyle shoes, I couldn't really, I don't know, stop me if I'm jumping ahead here, but I
No,
couldn't really find a pair of work boots that fit that lifestyle, that could fit my feet. And so all of my work boots at work on the fire department were super uncomfortable. And so that's kind of how I got into the idea of creating a barefoot style work boot that I could wear at work.
and once again, being a firefighter, you've been doing it for what, 15 years? Is that right?
17 and a half years. Yeah.
Dang. Okay, so that's over like half your life. Then I'm assuming.
It's, yeah, very much.
I didn't want to guess, but I'm trying to calculate. So I got you.
I don't want to yeah.
Cool, bro. That's kind of funny because like you got a similar story. Like I used to do cross country in high school, only 1 year though. I didn't last 2 years in cross country in high school. I hated it. That's where I got a lot of my injuries, to be honest. Ankles, knees, a whole bunch of them, just from not properly running correctly. And I think that's one thing that in high school athletics they don't teach you. Correct running
Mhm.
strides. Maybe they do, but I don't remember. I remember playing volleyball and basketball, but cross country, like I just didn't have the endurance. I wasn't a cross country body. I didn't have that, you
For
know.
sure.
So I mean, props to
Yeah.
you, but I think that's where I started learning about proper foot health and the importance of the foot and how that affects everything else. Because I remember from cross country injuries that led me to volleyball and basketball injuries because I've had so many of my ankles rolled or my knees, tweaked. So I see the importance of now taking care of my foot because it's such a critical thing going up the chain. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's your base.
yeah. And then of course the name of the boots, the brand Wilmore Boots, trying to keep it classic, original, stick to the name. Is that right?
Indeed. So there's a little bit of a story there as well when I got with my shoe designer and started thinking about names for the boots. And I threw around a bunch of names that weren't being used yet because there were some good ones that I looked up and they were kind of being used by other companies and stuff. And he came up with the idea. I think he was like, "Dude, you have a very strong last name. I mean, we could always just use that." And then I spoke it out, wrote it out, Wilmore Boots, and it kind of just stuck. I was like, "Yeah, I dig it. I really like it." And then my best friend Nick, he goes, "Dude," he's like, "You should do it." He's like, "How dope would it be to be like, oh, what when people ask you what boots are those? Oh, these are the Wilmore." They're in Jordan. I was like, "All right, bro, you got me." Okay, I'm down. So, yeah, that's kinda how, Wilmore Boots, the name came about.
Okay, dude. It's gonna be a staple in the the Barefoot shoe industry, one more.
These are the Wilmores.
But the ones I have here, they're the Alpha V1s, the version ones. I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but like also, I guess for you as a firefighter, how important is it to have work boots that are foot shaped, and of course having some sort of a protection, obviously, because as a firefighter, I'm assuming you're carrying some heavy things. You have to be protecting your foot at all costs. Fighting fires or whatever it is that you're out there on the job. How important it is to have the proper footwear at your job?
It's important enough for me to invest my life savings into starting a boot company for it. It's, it's paramount for me personally. I mean, just so we consider ourselves industrial athletes, right? So health and wellness for us is of the utmost importance because literally lives depend on it, right? So everything from the bottom of our feet to our mental well-being in our heads, like everything in between has to be in top shape. And when you neglect one muscle group, even when you're training in the gym, if you were to just train chest and not train your back, you would create imbalances that would thus create injuries. And the same thing happens in footwear, where, shoes that have a stiff sole or what have you and don't allow your feet to work can create imbalances and then injuries. And then especially industrial athletes like us, when we get injured, we can't perform. And so it's honestly as simple as that, is maintaining health in 100% of your body. That's why it was so important for me to bring this to life. And not only the health of your feet and your body, but also just comfort. And it's it's impressive to me how important comfort is, especially in footwear, and how mentally taxing it can be to be uncomfortable for an extended amount of time. And that alone can make you lose focus on the task at hand just because you are uncomfortable. So there's multiple aspects on why barefoot shoes and at least just a comfortable foot shaped boot in general is so important.
Yeah. I guess when did that hit you when you're like, you know, start to create a brand, these Wilmore boots? When did it hit you when you're like, I have to find a way to keep my feet healthy because you probably have felt injuries, not injuries, but like those crampedness and tiredness from wearing boots for, hours on end. When did that happen?
Yeah, I've had injuries. I've had plantar fasciitis before, and it was about 5 or 6, maybe 7 years ago that I had the kind of the idea to start or to create, a barefoot style work boot. I would say 3 years ago now was when I finally was able to actually put boots on the ground and start making steps toward the actual product. For many years, I just didn't know where to start. And I tell a lot of people, I was like, maybe I just wasn't ready to start because the resources were there. I just didn't take advantage of it. And so when I was finally able to find my designer, which I think is something we'll talk about a little bit later, and run it by him and figure out that this was a good idea, that was kind of the start of everything and um, getting that process rolling.
So, you're kind of leading me to where you met your designer and whatnot when you were thinking about creating Wilmore boots. Um, you probably don't have I mean, you might have, I don't know, design aspect of what you want, but putting into actual creation of it, how did you find him? And what was it that kind of, met you guys to say, hey, let's work on this together?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's one of my favorite stories. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but I was actually on Instagram and I saw a reel for a pickleball shoe company, and I thought their shoes looked cool. I went to their website and I read their about me on their website where they talked about their process in creating their shoes. And in there, they talked about finding a shoe designer, Mark Britton, And then it was I talk about this. I've talked about this on my own personal Instagram. It was the biggest light bulb went off when I read Found a Shoe Designer. And I was like, that's exactly what I need. Like it seems in hindsight, it seems so obvious. Like, duh, you need a shoe designer to create shoes. But prior to that moment, I just like it just wasn't there. And so I read that, the light bulb went off. I reached out to Garrett from Cypher Pickleball and I was like, can you put me in touch with your shoe designer? I want to create like some work boots or something. It's nothing competitive with the pickleball shoe company or anything like that. And so he did. He CC'd me on an email with Mark and I told him the idea. The first thing he said was, "Are you sure this isn't a thing already?" And I was like, "Yes, bro, because if it was, I would be wearing them already." I'm like, yeah. And so he did some research, looked around. He's like, "You know what? It's not." He's like, "I think it's a great idea if you want to move forward, here are the details and everything like that." So that's kind of how that got started as well. And me finding my shoe designer.
Okay, so what year was this that this ball started to roll at Mark?
2023,
Okay.
like the middle of 2023. So yeah, I think it's been about 3 years, a 3-year process.
Yeah. And then of course, prototypes, because I know you've had to wear, test it out to make sure that what you're, selling and whatnot is approved by you. So what's that process like, man? Testing out the boots, trying it on. Did you have to have someone like outsider from your perspective to also give you feedback, or what was it?
So it was pretty much myself and Mark. And Mark's done obviously a lot of work with, he's actually worked with other barefoot shoe companies, which was a great resource to have. And so with his knowledge and then getting samples back to me and testing them out at work and just kind of that was the whole kind of research and development process for us was once we got the shape right and it was not too wide, not too narrow. That's the thing with that I've come to realize with footwear is the sizing is really the crux of the whole process. Is just getting that sizing right, especially when it comes to a barefoot style shoe with the wider toe box, making sure it's not too wide, not too narrow. It's a very important aspect of the process for sure. But I wore my sample boots at work for I think 3 or 4 months before we actually went fully into production with no issues or anything like that. So that was kind of the whole testing process.
And then some aspects of your shoe, if you want to show and tell, could you're the one who created this. I'd love to get your your knowledge of what makes these so different from other work boots, because you might share this with your friends. This is going to go on the internet. People will be like, it's just another boot, man. Like, well, why should I look at these? So you tell me, man, like what's so unique about yours?
Yeah. So anytime I tell people about my boots and what makes them different, I pretty much focus on three different things. And the first one's going to be, and the most important for me is the wide toe box. This is what for me provides the most amount of comfort in these boots and discomfort in regular shoes and regular boots is the squeezing of the toes in the toe box. So the wide toe box is paramount for comfort, one, and for two, it allows your toes to splay out as they naturally would, which also increases your balance and stability. And the next is going to be the zero drop. It does the some people have mentioned that there's a little bit of a heel on here, but the actual footbed sits inside of the heel. So it is a zero drop from heel to toe, which also again prevents your shoe or your feet from sliding forward in the boot and cramping your toes in the front. And then also it's going to be a little bit thinner of an outsole. I didn't want to go completely barefoot with a super thin outsole
Yeah.
just for the sake, but it does maintain a lot of flexibility. Like these are brand new, fresh out of the box, and they do maintain a lot of flexibility while still being protected. And so those are the three main things for me that I wanted to have when making these boots. And then some other features are the shaft here, the opening. It stays open, doesn't really collapse on me like my old boots used to, which is nice just dropping my work pants over top of these and just being able to step in them, which is kind of specific for the fire department. But I mean, I am a fireman, so that's kind of I wanted to have some aspects that were just for us. So And then there's also kind of abrasion resistance here. A lot of people take their boots off with their other boot on the heel. So you put some protection here just to prevent wear and tear. And then also we went with Vibram for the outsole. I really wanted to have a well-known brand and collaborate with him. And having Vibram do our outsole was huge, man, because there's probably not a bigger name in the outsole rubber industry than Vibram. So it was very cool to get their logo on my boot for sure.
Yeah. Did that take you a while to get them to say, let's get your stamp of approval on my boots? What
So
Vibram?
that's interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
they're a company that's so big that they can say yes or no to whomever they want, especially like a smaller company like me. They're like, dude, you're not doing the numbers big enough for us to want to work with you. But they actually saw the vision, man, and they also thought it was a good idea, and so it did complicate the process a little bit more, having to go outside of the factory for the sole for the outsole, and they had to do their own testing and stuff like that. But it was worth it for sure. It was definitely worth it. I think the logo just looks super sick on the boot, man.
Yeah. On both the black
Yeah.
and the brown. I mean, heck
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. On the brown one, it's like yeah, it pops. It's super cool.
Curious about these. So you have these hooks. Are these meant for use for something, or is it just something that you could just hold on to?
Yeah, they're pull loop. Yeah, they're pull loops just to put on the boot. It resembles our suppression boots. So these are considered station boots. These
Hmm.
are the ones that we wear on like EMS calls. Anytime we do any public service or anything like that, anytime we step outside of the station, we wear these boots. And then whenever we're fighting fire, we have structure boots that are, fire retardant and stuff. And so these kind of made their way over from our structure boots that have the same kind of pull loops on them,
So,
just if you need help getting them.
so talking about firefighting. So when you're out there fighting fires, you have to switch out of different boots, right? You can't wear
Yeah,
these.
you're not going to be fighting
Okay.
these boots.
Yeah.
No, no, these are for somebody like me,
Hmm.
I'm an engineer, so I drive the fire trucks, fire engines. Rarely do I go inside the fire anymore. I'm typically outside, either flying the ladder or setting up ladders outside, or I'm kind of facilitating the crews that are going in and out. And so if I'm on a fire scene, I'm typically in my station boots only, and it can be for hours at a time. And I've I've been legitimately on calls long enough and just having my toes cramped and my feet uncomfortable that it's noticeable for sure.
So, so that's maybe that's something I'm going to ask you towards the end. Is like, what's the next step with Wilmore Boots? Because you've done one part of for the EMS, but how about for those who are for like fighting fires, fire time? I mean, you need something for them too, right? Your other brothers and sisters who are out there on the field.
So you you mean like making suppression style boots?
Yeah, man. Like that'll be
Good.
another game changer.
Listen, I have so many ideas and plans for the future. And I can definitely add suppression boots to the list,
Yeah.
but that's an even nicher than even these. If I could make that happen, so if this is successful enough that I could make that happen someday,
Uh,
that would be amazing. I would love to do that. That
yeah.
would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. I mean, it'll be hard for them to like go from a nice Wilmore boots and then go back to the narrow toe box, and they're out there regularly, physically going out there. So I mean, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
But going back to, of course, the creation of the boots and whatnot. For you personally, what do you love about barefoot shoes? The aspects of it that kept you in, Viva Barefoot for so long. Like, what is it that's kind of drew you into wearing barefoot shoes? Because probably a lot of your coworkers, your friends, family, I don't know, like me, like they don't know understand the importance of footwear, or having the right type of foot shape. So, what is it for you personally that you love about that you're so diehard about, like getting people into at least comfortable foot shape shoes?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing would be that kind of grounded feeling. And like I said, it for me, it all started in the gym, and especially when you're lifting weights, and being able to spread my toes out, and especially when I'm squatting, or deadlifting, and being able to feel that base, and feel the corners of my feet like lock into the ground like that, and it's something that's palpable, that you can actually feel. That kind of kept me wearing those Vivos for as long as I have. And then eventually, my toes started to spread out far enough to where normal shoes just weren't comfortable anymore. And this is the barefoot shoe progression, I'm telling you. You buy your first pair, and you're like, "Oh, this is kinda nice." Like, it just, like, takes you back to the earth, man. It just feels so natural. It's so nice. And then eventually shoes become uncomfortable, and so you're like, "All right, so I guess I gotta buy some lifestyle shoes now." And so I have, like, 20 freaking pairs of lifestyle shoes, and then next thing you know, like, it's wearing normal shoes is almost unbearable, and so you just swap out your whole wardrobe, and so, yeah, but also the foot health and the foot strength idea is huge for me. Even, like, doing calf raises and movements like that, you can actually feel your feet working as opposed to just hinging off of the sole of a shoe, and you don't really feel your feet working. And just the injury prevention of having, avoiding those imbalances in your calf muscle being so much stronger than your feet, muscles in your feet, and preventing the plantar fasciitis, the preventing the bunions and stuff like that, and all of those other foot injuries as well. Like all of those things are super important and things that I love about the barefoot, kind of lifestyle.
So for you, I guess what I'm kind of getting is that your progression from, from high school running in those free runs, and then of course Vivos, and now you had created this Wilmore Boots. Now the progression is okay. So I've created a brand. I'm getting these out into those who are in, firefighter, EMS, or construction, because these can be also worn for construction. Is that right? Like, who else can wear these
Totally.
boots?
The brown pair was intended for construction or just, any other blue collar line of work where you need, a safety toe.
So what's the next plans, and for 5, 10 years, or even like not even 5, 10 years, but like what's the future for Wilmore Boots?
So the near immediate future is I just wanna I really am excited to get another design out there, and my designer and I have probably 3 or 4 other styles that we've had drawn up. This is the most similar to my current, or not my current, but my previous station boots, and so that's kinda why I wanted to design this one first. It
Hmm.
was a little bit selfish, and so I would love to design and release something that is kind of in contrast to this a little bit. A lower shaft, probably lace up, something like that, that can complement this style of boot is my next order of business after I, get enough capital from selling them to make that happen. And then from there, it's just seeing what the people want, improving on this boot, making the Alpha V2, the next styles, and just progressing from there, and seeing what the customers want from me.
Okay, and then of course I forgot to ask you. So name of, I guess when you're creating a shoe, there's a name behind the shoe. Alpha, that one. What is that? What is the name behind Alpha?
It's not super
No.
complicated. It's it's just because it's the first one that I designed,
Okay.
and so that just really wanted to name it the Alpha, and then obviously the V1 was intentional, letting people know that this is just the first version of many versions to come.
Okay. Cool. No, I always ask because every brand I've
Yeah, no,
asked,
for sure.
they have a some kind of story that ties to their shoe. So I'm like, I want to know, but it's
Uh,
all good.
yeah.
Um, for you, you've been in barefoot shoes for longer than I have, but where do you see the barefoot shoe industry evolving in the future?
I see it not being difficult to find barefoot shoes for. any kind of footwear that you're looking for. And I'm happy to say that I'm able to kind of break down one of those barriers for myself in the kind of work boot space. And then eventually, hopefully, some big shoe companies will start giving barefoot options to the people. You know, like they don't have to change their whole lineup or anything like that, but just having the option of a wider toe box and you know, a more flexible outsole and maybe a thinner outsole in some of their shoes would be amazing. I think I saw on Instagram there was a company that made like a custom pair of barefoot Vans, you know? And, dude, they look sick. And I was like, that would be just so dope if Vans came out with like a barefoot style, dude, that would be so sick. So, I'm hopeful and that I think eventually we will get there because the barefoot movement, it's only growing for sure. There have been even like court shoes, trying to find barefoot court, like now you can do that. I've seen barefoot cycling shoes, and so it's only a matter of time before, you know, the big companies take notice.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, for them, the big shoe company, they give the barefoot esque of, you know, like you were mentioning, those characteristics of the wide toe box, zero drop, the flexible sole, like that helps people to even transition into barefoot shoes, you know, knowing that there are options out there if they were to already recognize those big name brands. But if they put that foot into there, I think it helps them to see like, oh man, I think my feet does need this. Let me go search out to see what other, you know, lifestyle or whether if it's dress shoes that can help me complement it. Cause yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've noticed in 2 years is that that's the direction with the big shoes that they see the importance. They see people are searching for, you know, comfortable shoes. And it's just, it's not there in the big shoe industry. Definitely not. Um, for you, for Wilmore Boots, what are some ways that you plan to create some more awareness, exposure for the brand?
So my biggest thing here coming up is kind of doing more advertising in the social media space. That's gonna be huge for me. And I would love for that to be just as educational for the people viewing it as it is informative just about my brand specifically. And then, expos. I really wanna do, expos this coming up year. It's been kinda tough for me this year starting out the brand and everything, and so I've looked into trying to do some expos, but the logistics is just crazy. So I think 2027, I wanna focus on doing some expos for sure.
I was laughing, man. When I saw that video of you with 2,000 pairs, like this truckload, and you're like tripping out, you're like, what am I gonna do in my house? Bro, like I can't imagine like that filling up the whole entire house. Like
Dude, I thought I was screwed, man. We listen, we made it work, but when I saw the when I saw those boxes, dude, I was so stressed. That might have been one of the most stressed I've ever been in my life, but we made it work. They're all in here, so we're good.
yeah.
Uh,
And then, of course, last but not least, where can my audience, followers, those who are listening to the podcast, where can they find you? Where can they learn more about Wilmore Boots? Even purchase one of these.
so the best place to learn about Wilmore Boots is gonna be my Instagram for sure. I post on there daily, pictures and videos talking about, you know, barefoot and the features of the boot and everything like that, my story. If you wanna purchase a pair, it's gonna be wilmoreboots.com. And then we're also obviously on Facebook and Threads and TikTok, and so and all of the social medias.
Sounds good. And then, of course, that your handle for social is Wilmore Boots, correct? Wilmore,
Yeah, 1L.
1L. Got it. Cool, man. But hey, uh, Ernest, I appreciate you, brother, for hopping onto the podcast, showcasing the boots, and of course, being here. So thanks again, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me, man. Appreciate you.